Ordering is easy. Just open the DoorDash app, choose what you want from where you want, and your items will be left safely outside your door with our effortless, you could say, contactless delivery setting. And listeners of this podcast are going to get involved in the YouTube live chat right now. It's also our listeners' chance to get 25% off and 0 delivery fees on their first order of $15 or more with the code NATION25. That's all capital letters, NATION, and the numbers 25 for 25% off up to $10 value and 0 delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app store, and enter code NATION25. Offer valid in Canada, subject to change. Terms apply. Labored through that ad read. Let's get to anyone else, of course. Brought to you by DoorDash. And we've got a few in the chat here. We'll go to Corey Anderson first. This is a good one. I'm going to shift it a little, Corey, if you don't mind. Corey said, besides the 2 Connors, if you had to start a franchise with any player, who do you choose?
2 Connors is, of course, referring to McDavid and Bedard. Oh, man, I'm just going
to say Jack Hughes.
Yeah. Especially at that contract. Yeah. I think you got to keep that in mind.
Okay,
here, right?
so let's, and that's a great point, Grady, because this is how I want to shift your question, Corey. Unless, do you have a different player? Because I was going to
Cale
say
Makar?
See, so this is my question. Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes to start a franchise, but you're also taking into account, let's take into account their cap hits. And you're searching it up. Remind everybody, what's Cale Makar at? What is Quinn Hughes at?
Makar, 4 years, 4 years left, $9 million per.
You're starting a franchise and you get
so equal term. They're both locked up for 4 years.
Yeah.
Quinn's at 7.85. Makar's at 9.
So let's just paint a picture. And this is going to be something. This is going to be the subject of our article on Canucks Army, I'm sure. Our shout out to Clark. We just hired Clark Corson, friend of the show now. He's doing our articles over at Canucks Army. He's going to write about this. And Grady, you're going to clip this. Let's pretend for a second we are reviving the Atlanta Thrashers. You're bringing hockey back to Atlanta, and you're going to the expansion draft. And for whatever reason, the Vancouver Canucks and Colorado Avalanche have left Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes unprotected. But for Seattle Kraken-related reasons, you only want one good player. So you are picking between Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar in this scenario. Both guys are unprotected. I don't matter who you're picking from other teams. Don't start with, Colorado's also going to have to make this guy available. Doesn't matter. You're picking between Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. Of course, Atlanta Thrashers, the next captain of the Atlanta Thrashers. Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes, who are you selecting with their current cap hits? And remind everybody the cap hits.
Yeah, so Makar 9, Quinn 7.85. Grady, please don't clip this. Makar. And I'll tell you why. Number one is a right shot defenseman. I think that's a bit of a premium.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's easier to find good lefties than it is to find good righties. And also just straight up, Makar's done this playing at the level of the best defenseman in the league for longer than Quinn has.
Yep. And
even now, even this season,
yep,
Makar's got 27 points in 17 games as well. He's playing at a 130-point pace too. So yes, Quinn's been better than Makar this season, absolutely. Now, Quinn's flat out been the best player in the NHL overall, not just among defensemen, but Makar's done it for so much longer. He's won a Stanley Cup.
Yep.
He's proven he can do it in the playoffs. He's a little bit bigger, which I don't put a ton of stock into. I don't really care about Hughes' size, but
he can ramp up sorry to cut you off. He can ramp up the physicality.
Exactly.
And as we've seen in the playoffs, like that still matters. And I don't think, Quinn would shy away from it, but he's gone out and done it, and he's won the MVP at that too.
Here's a counter argument for both of you, and really for you, Harman. Sorry, Grady. Really for you here on what you just said. One thing that Quinn Hughes hasn't had in those years where you're pointing to Cale Makar, aside from a good team that can compete for a Stanley Cup, is a steady, legitimate top pairing defenseman as his partner.
That's fair.
That's something Quinn Hughes hasn't had. So I guess my question for you is, you're talking about how Quinn is outplaying Cale Makar right now. How much do you attribute that to the fact that he finally has a legitimate partner as his defense partner?
I think a good chunk of it is that. And I've brought up, last year I was pushing for Hughes to get Norris votes, not necessarily first place, but to get whether it's third, fourth, fifth place ballots.
Second, I put him second on mine.
That's fair too.
Anyways, go on.
And one of the big points I brought up was, look, a guy like Makar gets to play with Devon Taves, who's also a stud defenseman, and Quinn in previous years has been lugging around.
Noah Juleson and Luke Shen.
Okay, Juleson was only 12 games. Okay,
12 games is a good chunk of the season. Let's be honest here. And you're still picking up Norris votes. Anyways, no, I'm not gonna start.
But that is a fair counter argument. I will give you that. It's really close, but again, it's hard to ignore how long Makar has played at this elite level. I mean, he had a 28 goal season before.
It doesn't sound like the 34 Quinn's about to put up. I'm just kidding. Go on.
McKinnon,
they're neck and neck at this point, but I still give the edge to Makar. Again, I think him being a right shot, if I'm building a team, I'm going to find it easier to get good lefties compared to righties.
So if this expansion draft happened right now, I am with you. I'm going with Cale Makar. We think the Canucks are going to make the playoffs. Pretty safe to assume the Canucks are going to make the playoffs in some capacity. Let me see how Quinn Hughes performs in the playoffs this year, and then our expansion draft should be in July or whatever. I want to revisit this. Some listener of the show, remind us in July, the dog days of summer, to rehash this conversation, because right now I'm with you. You go with Cale Makar, but I also agree with you that it's very close, and I think I might be going with Quinn Hughes by the summer.
Yeah, at least he won't be tier 3B in our eyes.
No, I mean, he never has been. Anyways, great contribution to the show there, Corey. We really appreciate it. Canucks Conversation with Harman and Quads every weekday at 2 p.m. Be sure to check it out on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. And if you missed it, go check it out on your favorite podcast catcher app.